Hey guys, it's Joelle, also known here on YouTube as Closet by Joelle. If you're new here to my channel, I am a full-time reseller on several platforms, but Poshmark, eBay, Mercari, and whatnot are my main ones. And for today's weekly video, we're going to talk about what sold in the past couple weeks of June. Now, instead of going over every single sale, I choose to highlight my best performing sales from the past couple of weeks. So these will be sales that either got me a really good profit or a really quick flip. And before we get started, I have a little bit of a challenge for myself as a content creator. I do have my notes right here, and I'm going to try my best to not have a lot of edits during this video and try to make it a little bit more conversational rather than my usual videos that seem to have a whole lot of pauses and a lot of editing done. So with that being said, I'm just going to try to coast through this video. We are going to start with one of my better sales of the past couple of weeks because it is such a good BOLO style. So first up, for $50 on Poshmark, on an offer sent by a buyer, I sold these 7 for All Mankind Dojo Flare jeans. These jeans I did pay $13.28 for. They were new with tags though, which was a huge bonus. And if you know about 7 for All Mankind, you may think that it's not the best resale value. That is true for a lot of their pieces, but if you don't know, the Dojo Flare style is a huge BOLO for this brand. The retail is usually around maybe $150 to around $230, depending on the pair that you get. I have sold a pair in the past for $112, I think. This one did sell for a little bit less, but I will say they were a size 24. So it was a style that I couldn't pass up. Usually with denim, I try to avoid small sizes, but for this one, it was the Dojo Flare jeans. So I really couldn't leave that one behind. So when I did receive an offer, I decided to just go ahead and take it. Even though it was a $100 listing, I felt like it had been listed for about 2 months, and if no one had bought it yet, it probably wasn't that good of a size to sell. So I went ahead and accepted that offer. After fees and cost of goods though, I still made a really decent profit of $26.80. Next up, we have another item that I did pay up for. So I have these Free People Colette cinched sandals. These ones I did pay $10 for. I actually sourced them at TJ Maxx, which I don't find a lot of items there, but I am a TJ Maxx rewards card member, and so when I do get that $10 reward, I usually try to find something to source. So although I don't source there often and I rarely find anything to sell, these ones were priced at $20. They were new without tags, and so I figured that that would be a decent pickup. There weren't a lot of comps though, so I don't know if I can confidently say that this is a BOLO style, but it was a quick flip that sold within about a week and a half of listing, and it did receive a lot of attention. So maybe it is a BOLO, maybe it isn't. I do think it is a fairly newer style because I didn't see a lot of listings on Poshmark that had sold. But for these Free People sandals, after fees and cost of goods, I profited a fairly quick $16.40. And next up, I have a brand that I would not consider a BOLO. These pants were for my personal closet. So I do have these Antonio Milani Tony wide leg plaid pants. They were basically brand new. I had worn them one time and they just ended up not fitting me right. So I decided to go ahead and list them. My cost of goods were $0. These were gifted to me, so I was very much okay with selling them for a lower price. I did have them listed for $30, which was a little bit on the more ambitious side. I saw a lot of these pants listed for around $20 to $25, but they did end up receiving a decent amount of likes, and they actually sold within about 1 week of listing at 40% off and discounted shipping on Poshmark. So after fees and cost of goods for these Antonio Milani pants, I profited a quick $12.38. And next up, I have one of my favorite brands. If you've kept up with my channel for the last couple of months, and especially since I went full time, you've probably heard me talk a lot about Lulu's. Lulu's is primarily a formal wear and dress brand. They are an online retailer. I would not recommend picking up their casual clothing, and honestly, I am very picky with the short mini dresses that I pick up, but whenever I do see a maxi or midi dress, I will always run comps. For this particular dress, I did pay up at $11.99, so I'm seeing a common trend so far for a lot of my sales. These are a lot of items that I paid a lot more for. Typically, my average cost of goods is around $2 or less, so paying $12 for an item is a bold strategy for me, but I'm very happy to pay up for Lulu's dresses. I know for this particular thrift haul, it was a retail arbitrage higher end haul that I did share on my YouTube channel probably about 3 or 4 months ago. So this one took a little bit longer than I hoped to sell, but I have managed to sell a lot of items from that haul so far. including another Lulu's dress. So for this dress, I did end up profiting $14.79, which was a little bit less than I was hoping for. I was really hoping to profit at least 20 bucks, but I was still very happy with this sale. And because it sat longer than I expected, I was content with the $14.79 that I profited. Next up though, I have this Aster the Label lace A-line midi dress. This one sold on Poshmark within about 1 week of listing. And this one sold for $30 on an offer sent by the buyer. For this dress, it was new with tags, but I found it at a garage sale for $1.67. So this is one of those brands that I'm going to be picky on because Aster the Label is sold a lot at Nordstrom and Nordstrom Rack. With those brands, they do not all equally sell for a lot. So a lot of these Nordstrom brands just don't have a good resale value. For this particular brand, I will only pick up any type of formal dresses. So this was a midi dress. It had this really pretty lace fabric to it, and it was a fairly modern style with pretty decent comps. So it was a no-brainer for me to pick this one up, especially at $1.67, and it was new with tags. So for this dress, I ended up profiting a very quick $22.33. And next up, I have this Elon, I don't really know how to pronounce the brand, but it is this boho goddess medallion print maxi dress. This was a dress that took way too long to sell. I picked it up sometime in the fall. It was on one of my thrift hauls. It did end up selling, however, for 35 bucks on an offer sent by the buyer on Poshmark. So that was a silver lining of this. I did pick it up because of the style. It's this really pretty maxi kind of open back dress. And I thought that it was perfect for any type of vacation or wedding guest dress. Unfortunately, it took people a little bit longer than I hoped to realize that it was such a good dress. But I did have this one originally listed for $65, which was a really, really steep price. I think I ended up lowering it to $50, which was right on par with other comps. And so when I received that $35 offer, I thought it was very reasonable. For this dress though, I did pay $7.98, which is another really ambitious price for me. Again, I'm not used to paying that much for items. So when this did sit for a while, I was feeling like it wasn't the best pickup, but it did end up selling for a really decent profit. So after fees and cost of goods, I ended up making $20.02 for this maxi dress. And next up, let's see what we got. We have these American Eagle kick boot jeans. American Eagle is a very reliable bread and butter brand. I will stray away from picking up any apparel that is not denim though. And a little tip that I've learned from a lot of other resellers in the community, and something that I can very much attest to, is that when you are sourcing American Eagle denim, look for any style that has stretch in them or for any material content that has spandex or elastane in them. So these were the kick boot jeans. They were a size 12 long, which is usually something I will also stray away from, any type of short or long jean, but when it comes to long jeans, I am a little bit more gracious with them. And these ones were a kick boot cut style. So great style to sell, and also these did have a lot of stretch to them. So definitely checked all the boxes for me when it comes to sourcing American Eagle. And the bonus points is that these only cost $1.79. I found these at Goodwill on the $1.79 day. They were the right color tag, which really shocked me because usually American Eagle will fly out of the thrift stores, but these did sell for 20 bucks in discounted shipping. So after fees and cost of goods, these did sell within about 1 week of listing. I made a quick $12.19 for these American Eagle jeans. And next up, I have this Basco Sportswear men's button-down shirt. I did receive this in my most recent ThredUp men's rescue box. If you haven't gotten the chance to check that video out and you're considering sourcing from ThredUp, I would highly recommend checking it out. I'll make sure that it's linked below if you do want to watch it. But ThredUp has some very questionable rescue boxes. I know that they've messed up a lot in the past with some of their categories, but their men's rescue box has never failed me. I always seem to make a really good profit. For this box, it cost me just over 90 bucks. I ended up making my money back and then a little bit of profit just after selling 4 items. So I am in the sheer profit range right now with selling all of my men's rescue box items. So for this one, my cost of goods was $0. It was something that ended up selling pretty quick within about 3 weeks of listing, which shocked me because it was such a basic piece, but sometimes when you price accordingly, you end up having the best buyer come along. So they did offer me $25 on a $35 listing. I thought that was very reasonable, especially because I now have $0 invested into it. So after fees and cost of goods, I profited a fairly quick $20 for this men's button-down shirt. Next up though, we have a very slow sale. So I have this Jessica McClintock Gonna Sex satin slip. I don't know if I pronounced any of that right, but nevertheless, this is a very popular collab. However, Jessica McClintock kind of lowers the value of this Gonna Sex line. If you are trying to source Gonna Sex, definitely look for those prairie kind of cottagecore midi and maxi dresses. Those are the ones that are going to go for hundreds of bucks. However, this collab still has some really good styles. I thought that this was a really cool kind of Y2K style. It was a really pretty satin slip. Even though it received a lot of attention on my platforms, it ended up taking about 1 year to sell. Would not recommend picking up pieces like this if you are looking for quick flips. These are instead going to be the pieces that are going to take a while to sell, but you'll still get a decent profit for them. So I think I had this one listed at 50 bucks. Someone offered me $30. That was the only offer I had ever received on the listing, so I counted my blessings and decided to accept that offer. I did have $6.49 invested into it, which was, again, a little bit more than what I'm used to spending, but for the piece, it was one of those one-of-a-kind pieces that you couldn't pass up. So after fees and cost of goods, I profited $17.51 for this navy satin slip dress. Next up, we have one of my best-selling brands, not only of 2023, but of all time for my few years of being a reseller. So for $21 and discounted shipping, I believe I sold these Lululemon tracker shorts. The tracker short I have sold before, I think sometime in 2022. They did sell for 28 bucks back then. These ones sold for 21 bucks at 40% off plus discounted shipping. I did score at Goodwill. I found these ones for $4.99, which is really rare because Goodwill usually upcharges all of their Lululemon pieces. So I was really lucky to find them at such a cheap price. For this brand and for the price point though, I wasn't looking for a huge profit. I was more so looking for that quick flip, and I did get that flip. I think these ones sold within about 1 week of listing. I definitely received some lowball offers on them, so even selling them at 40% in discounted shipping, I still ended up making a decent profit. So after fees and cost of goods, I profited $9.79. And when it comes to sourcing Lululemon, I would definitely say the tracker short is a good bolo style. Don't pay up for them. For these, $5 is honestly the highest I would pay for them unless they were new with tags. But if you do find something like the Hottie Hot shorts, maybe consider paying a little bit more for them. But definitely make sure to do your research on Lululemon. Lulu Fanatics is going to be your best friend when you are, so definitely make sure to do all of your research, look up all the comps when you are sourcing it, because a lot of times it is upcharged at those thrift stores. So some pieces are worth paying up for, some pieces are not. But I was happy with this sale. I love selling Lululemon. It will always be one of my favorite brands. And next up, I have one of my favorite items from this What Sold video. So I have these Juicy Couture Y2K pink velour flare sweatpants. These ones sold for $26 on Poshmark. They did sell on an offer sent by the buyer. These were listed for 50 bucks, so you might think that that is a lowball offer, but I was very much okay with accepting it because when I did research my actual listings on Poshmark for similar styles versus the recent sold comps, this buyer clearly did the same thing because they offered me right on par with what the actual sold comps were. So I thought that that was reasonable. Even though it was practically 50% off my asking price, it was very reasonable considering the sold comps. So these ended up selling within a few days of listing. They received a ton of attention on Poshmark and my other platforms. And I gotta tell you, if you're not sourcing these hot pink, Barbie pink items, make sure you start now. The Barbie movie is premiering in less than 1 month now, and I can tell you that all of this hot pink stuff in my closet is either flying out of my closet or it's getting a ton of attention. So definitely make sure you are looking for a lot of these fun Y2K vintage styles. And bonus points if it is a brand like Juicy Couture. This is something that has come full circle from the early 2000s and it is very trending now. And you get even more bonus points if you can find something that has those Juicy Couture bedazzled sequins all over the pants and the jackets. Those are going to be the things that sell really well, but definitely make sure to do your research because this velour fabric and this flare style sweatpants is also very popular too. So for these pants, after fees and cost of goods, I made a pretty quick $19.01 for these Juicy Couture pink velour sweatpants. And I forgot to mention, but I did pay just $1.79 for these pants. And next up, we have this Carhartt Women's Force scrub shirt. I love selling scrubs. Usually I only pick up figs, but when I saw Carhartt, I thought that it would be a good pickup. Thankfully, this one only cost me $1.79, and this was one of my very rare sales on eBay. I did have a couple of other eBay sales the past couple of weeks, but they're not very worth highlighting because they were mostly just stale listings that brought me maybe $5 to $10 profit. I'll share the screenshots with you all, but not really worth talking about. So for this Carhartt women's scrubs top, it actually ended up selling full price for $24.99 on eBay. I am experimenting with my eBay pricing, so when I do cross list, a lot of times I will lower the price by about $5 to $10 in comparison to what I am asking for it on Poshmark. And I am also experimenting with ending my listings in 99 rather than having a whole number. So I don't know if that is something that is just a psychological thing that people like seeing $24.99 versus $25, or something like $19.99 versus $20. So I don't really know if that's making a difference in my sales. I think more so the fact that I am cross-listing every single day and adding more quality items to my eBay is why I'm making more sales, but I also like to think that my pricing experimentation is helping too. So for these ones, like I said, I got it for $1.79. This shirt ended up selling within about 2 weeks of listing too. So definitely a good brand to sell in, a good category to sell in. I love selling scrubs. And after fees and cost of goods, I profited $16.87 for this Carhartt scrubs top. And next up, we have a rare Mercari sale. So this one is Agile by Florence Welsh, a terry cloth maxi dress. This was a brand that I had never heard of, but I was very intrigued with the style. This was a long sleeve maxi dress, had a sort of boat neckline to it, and I just thought that the terry cloth fabric was so cool. It was just something that was so unique. I did not find a lot of details about the brand, and I still don't have a lot to share about it, so this was something that I made sure was a very keyword heavy listing, and it actually ended up selling on Mercari for $38, which is very rare for me. Usually on Mercari, I consider that a clear out platform. I usually don't have a very high average sales price on there, but this sale definitely helped me raise that ASP. I only had $1 invested into it too, which was huge bonus points because the profit ended up being very good. And this dress took about 5 to 6 months to sell. So I was okay with waiting around because I only had $1 invested into it. Typically my vintage pieces will take a lot longer to sell, especially if I'm asking for more. I know that this one was listed for $50, so pretty ambitious price point, but I was very happy with my profit because after fees and cost of goods, I made $31.32 for this vintage maxi dress. And next up, we have another rare Mercari sale. This was one of those pieces that, like eBay, I experimented with my pricing. I had it listed for $25 on Poshmark, and I ended up listing it for $20 on Mercari, and it actually sold overnight. So for $20 on Mercari, I sold this North Face pink quarter zip jacket. This was something that I'd actually sold on Whatnot, and then the buyer ended up just canceling the order. And I was very much okay with that because what sold on Whatnot for $4 ended up turning into a $20 sale on Mercari. Thankfully, I did not have any money invested into this. I used some Poshmark credits to order a mystery box. It ended up being a really great box. I sold a lot of that stuff on Whatnot, but this I ended up just selling on Mercari because it was getting a lot of attention on Poshmark too. So I figured it would be something that I could experiment with my pricing because with $0 invested into something, I am okay with selling it for much less than I would expect. So for this overnight sale on Mercari, I ended up profiting a very quick $16.71. And now we're on to the last sale. This is a last minute addition because as I'm recording this, it sold this morning and I contemplated sharing it or not with you all, but I thought that it was a really good BOLO brand that even though it doesn't bring a lot of profit, it ends up being a fairly quick sale. So for $15 on Poshmark, I sold these Democracy brown kind of jegging style pants, and these ones sold on a $15 offer sent by the buyer. They were listed for $25, so I thought that that was a pretty reasonable offer. Usually the lowest I will take on a $25 listing. I also had $0 invested into these, so I would virtually take any offer that I received on the item as long as I was making a few bucks. So like I said, I chose to include it not because of the profit, but because of the brand. I've had a pretty decent experience selling this brand, especially their jeans. It is not something that I will pay up for, and a lot of times I will only accept things if they are free to me. But again, it is a really good brand. It is something that is sold a lot at TJ Maxx, also at stores like Nordstrom Rack, but it just doesn't have the best resale value all the time. But I do think that because it is such a popular brand in these very popular retail stores, that a lot of people are looking for them secondhand for an even better deal. So if you're like me and you're okay with getting these little quick flips, I would recommend looking for Democracy. And of course, if you ever receive it for free, definitely make sure to get it listed. So these ones ended up selling within about 1 week of listing, and after fees and my zero cost of goods, I made a quick $12 for these Democracy jeggings. All right, we have now gone over my best sales of the past couple of weeks of June. Looking at my sales, I realized that a lot of these items that I paid up for were also some pretty quick flips. So that is what I am looking for when I pay up for items. Ever since going full-time in January, I've been much more intentional with what I source. I'm really trying to source high quality items that have strong followings, and I'm trying to get them up for sale and out the door to new homes as quick as possible. So I thought that the last couple of weeks of June were very successful, and I will say they were much more successful than my first couple weeks of the month. So if you got any sort of value out of this video, whether it was a new to you brand or maybe a new BOLO brand or style, I hope you consider subscribing to my YouTube channel and turning on your notifications so you don't miss my weekly videos. I really appreciate all of the support you guys have given my channel. And as always, I love to receive your feedback in the comments. So that is all I have for you all today. So now that we're at the end of this video, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you for the next video.